Hey, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. It's an exchange we all have, probably a dozen times a day, almost like we're on autopilot. But have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on behind that simple automatic response? Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers on the psychology of I'm fine and explore why those two little words can carry so much weight. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You ask a friend how they're doing, and even though you can just see the exhaustion in their eyes, they manage a little smile and say it. Or, hey, maybe you're the one who says it, putting on that brave face when your world kind of feels like it's falling apart. So, is it just a polite little social script we've all learned? Or is there something much deeper at play? What's so fascinating is that for a lot of us, saying I'm fine isn't just a response. It's actually a complex and deeply ingrained survival mechanism. To really get this, we first need to look at this phrase for what it so often is. It's a protective mask. It's one we wear to navigate the world around us. We might call people who do this low maintenance, but the reality is way more profound. This isn't just some quirky personality trait. For so many people, it's an automatic reflex. It's a shield that's been built up over years and years to protect yourself from adding pressure, from feeling like a burden, or from showing a vulnerability that just feels unsafe. So the big question is, where does a mechanism like this even come from? Well, one of the most common starting points goes all the way back to our earliest environments, and something that developmental psychology calls the easy child adaptation. Okay, so what does that actually mean? Just imagine for a second growing up in a home where there's a lot of stress, or maybe one where emotions just weren't really talked about. As a kid, you might have learned very quickly that the best and maybe the safest way to keep things calm was to just not add any more problems to the pile. And you can almost see how the wiring gets laid down. It starts in that high stress environment. You learn that being cooperative and low demand is just easier. It keeps you safe. And over time, that becomes automatic. You start to swallow your own emotions without even realizing you're doing it. And here's the absolute crucial part. Your brain learns that keeping the peace is way more important for your survival than expressing your own needs. Now, this early adaptation, this way of being, it doesn't just vanish when we become adults. Nope. It evolves. It grows into something even bigger, something way more formidable, a powerful fortress of independence. And this is the direct result. See, when you're used to handling every single thing on your own because, well, support wasn't always there for you, your brain learns a very simple, very powerful rule. Trust yourself and only yourself. Asking for help doesn't just feel a little awkward. On a deep subconscious level, it can feel genuinely dangerous. And this is the real paradox of it all, isn't it? On the outside, you look incredibly capable. You're the person everyone relies on, the one who's totally calm in a crisis. But the internal machinery is what's so interesting. You've basically developed what some psychologists call stress inoculation. You've been under so much pressure that your brain just doesn't panic anymore. But the flip side is, you avoid asking for help at all costs, because that's how you avoid the deep, familiar sting of being let down again. And there's another really important psychological layer here. It's a concept from humanistic psychology called conditional positive regard. Basically, if you grew up feeling like you only got love or attention when you were being useful or quiet or successful, you might start to believe that your value is conditional. You start to think, I am loved because I am helpful, or I am valuable because I am not a problem. And this right here is so incredibly important to hear. Saying you're fine because you're terrified of being a burden is so often rooted in this deep mix-up between your worth and your function. But your inherent value as a human being has absolutely nothing to do with what you do for other people. But wait a second, what if it's not always about fear? Sometimes saying I'm fine is actually a really smart strategy. It can be a very conscious way to regulate your own emotions. In that case, you're not being dishonest, you're just creating a necessary boundary. You're protecting your mental energy, preventing psychological overload, and choosing very carefully who gets access to the deeper, quieter parts of your mind. So, after all of this, what's the big takeaway? I think it's time we reframe this entire conversation. Because this isn't about diagnosing a flaw or a problem. It's about understanding a brilliant, powerful adaptation. So, here's the most crucial point of all. If any of this sounds even remotely familiar to you, It is not because you are broken or difficult. It is because your brain and your nervous system did exactly what they were supposed to do. They adapted brilliantly to your environment to keep you safe. I mean, really think about it. All of these behaviors, the hyper-independence, the need to be easy, that I'm fine mask, they are all signs of incredible strength. You learned how to endure, you learned how to manage, you learned how to protect yourself, and that is a rare and powerful skill. The path forward isn't about being ashamed of these adaptations. It's about recognizing you built them for survival, and now you might just be in a place that's safe enough to start lowering those defenses, even just a tiny bit. Real growth, real change, it starts when you finally feel you can express your needs. And sometimes that feeling of safety comes from exploring it on your own, or maybe even talking with a professional who can help you navigate these old patterns. So, I want to leave you with this one thought. Your survival skills built an incredible fortress to protect you. And you know what? It served its purpose perfectly. The question for you now is, are you ready to start building a bridge? A bridge to connect with others, and maybe just as importantly, a bridge to connect with your own true needs. Thanks for joining me on this one.